since the late 60s, Harry Everingham ran an organization called United We Stand. He's a very well-known national Uber individual that went around to manufacturing plants during World War II, showing Nazi propaganda films and so on, and encouraged the workers, more production, Rosie the Riveter, we need more rivets, okay? So after World War II, the target went from fascism to communism because there's always some ism. So Harry built a large database, retired here in Arizona in the late 60s, and every Saturday, the Saturday Morning Breakfast Club was broadcast on KPHO. Through the years, it's been on radio. I used to do my show live from there every now and then, and so on, and I'm a young activist in the early 90s, and I get invited to speak, and I say, hello, what's up, and wow, you guys got a lot of cool information. And this was before the internet. So we actually, if you didn't go to the Arizona Breakfast Club, you didn't know what the heck was going on. So, over the years, you know, a lot of respect between the Liberty Everingham's God, country, and, you know, Constitution. What happened as we evolved, so it became obvious that, you know, the Republican Party wasn't really going to be the vehicle for advocating liberty, and, you know, so it's just kind of, you know, you'll find a lot of libertarians here. But if you open it up, you'll find a lot of progressives also, and they'll have their say. That's good, because then we get the counter. I am the publisher of Freedom's Phoenix. Freedom's Phoenix is a web portal that is news in nature, and you may recognize that logo. Freedom's Phoenix, the Arizona Breakfast Club, and SAFE. What we're going to be talking about is SAFE today. Sure. Alan Korwin is going to help us with understanding the law and some of his perspective on things, but I, of course, get to share mine. This is what, I will give you a little bit of history and have some understanding of what we're doing. In the 90s, imagine, go way back machine, it's 1993. 88 GOP convention, George Bush says, read my lips, no new taxes. That worked out. So, here comes the taxes. Right now, they freak if your debt for your bonds as a country goes above 4 or 5%. Greece hits 6%, Italy, Spain, the entire planet's going to devolve. At the time, in the early 90s, U.S. bonds were going for over 8% before somebody would buy them. So they're going, this is where Perot was going, oh, I got a chart, can I finish, can I finish? What he was talking about is this short-term financing, a long-term debt that keeps rolling over, big interest, that's unsustainable. So they believe the solution is just print more money, keep interest rates to nothing, and the end's coming, there's no getting around, okay? The U.S. dollar is going to go away, in my opinion, that's a whole other issue. But this is how it applies to this. What happened is that we started to realize, when we were doing a lot of the Second Amendment stuff, here would come the Japanese version of 60 Minutes. I go to gun shows, and we'd have our libertarian gypsy booth thing out there, and we're going, oh, man, you know, dial 911 to die kind of stuff. And when you go, you know, when the police show up, they just draw the chalk line and notify the next of kin. You want to make sure the next of kin's the bad guys. So as we're doing this kind of rhetoric and, you know, playing libertarianism, here comes the television crews and so on after Bradyville, and the impression that we were giving the rest of the world is America is finally starting to disarm. Here would come the TV crews from Germany, from Japan, and magazines from South Korea. And I wondered why or what? Now we have the Chinese government, America has to disarm. Why do they say that? The activists in Russia are going, you better not disarm. We know what happens, okay? So there's a lot of Chinese. So in context, to understand what was going on, you have to fast forward. When a lot of the articles are done, it's the late 90s, Viper militia stuff's going on. There, you know, here comes Janet Reno and Janet Napolitano and all the gun control stuff and crime bills and terrorist bills and on and on and on, before you start to really understand what was happening. It became clear to me when the South Korean magazines, like a version of Time or something, came out. Yeah, go ahead. So what happened was this. As I'm looking through it, their main focus was one thing. If you want us to buy America's debt, which now is just bought by the Fed, I mean, it's just in place. They just go, okay, nobody else will buy it, we'll just put it in this column over this column. Okay? So what they did is they go, all right, if you have a people that is fully armed in their mind, and you've got more guns than people kind of thing, you know, or at least enough. So they're going, how in the hell are we going to entrust our money with you for a 30-year treasury when you have a history of the American people rising up against oppressive taxes? Why would we do that? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's all good. We got our slaves on the plantation, okay? Here comes the Brady Bill, assault weapons ban. Don't worry about American people. We got them under control. Give us money. So they did. Here comes the Japanese. They go to the gun show. They see us out there, and what do you see? Thousands of people and hundreds of people walking around, guns for sale, with a dowel rod and a flag sticking out an AR-15. Cameras going, BS, man. So we go through this, and I start to see a pattern. They would threaten you with, we're going to take all your guns. Some of the guns, the handguns, Gun Control Incorporated, remember? Handguns. Oh, that's not handguns anymore. Now it's just assault weapons. You know, handguns aren't even on the radar screen anymore. Okay? Then we have all this stuff. Now, we can go in about the validity of these events and how they do and what chemicals they're on and all that prescription stuff and how they're blah, 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 blah. You know, the freedom's the answer. What's the question? I mean, you want to have less gun violence, have good guys, more guns, and problem solved. So Second Amendment is for everyone means Second Amendment is for everyone. We have taken the position, and always have, for 20 years, that the Second Amendment means that, you know, your most vile, murdering, scumbag, doped out, drug-dealing piece of crap walks into a hardware store, pays cash, walks out. Because they're the gun anyway, and all you're doing is making it more difficult for me to defend against people like that. So I go, no. Everybody else can do their politically correct and you know, whatever piece, but not Second Amendment is for everyone. We found some allies. L. Neil Smith, Libertarian Second Amendment Caucus. He's a science fiction writer, real popular in the 70s days. NRA is part of the battle with Neil Knox and so on, and getting the NRA from a shooting club that was an arm of the U.S. trained me for ROTC, kind of whatever, into a gun rights organization. The gun rights guys won out, but inside the connections up to the Republican, they, them, those, whatever, you know, state. So they're National Republican apologists, all kinds of NRA stories, don't get me going. I'll give you one. 1994, NRA comes in, all the gun groups, we need SAFE, we need Libertarian Second Amendment cops, all the gunnies guys go into a Best Western hotel, they sat us in, kind of theater seating, they get up and they go, John Kyle's going to run for a U.S. Senate seat to take the DeConcini place, and we got to let him vote for the assault weapons ban and the crime bill so that he doesn't lose to a evil Democrat that might ban your guns. Okay? What? And they gave him an A+ rating. We started making signs of the 94 campaign. It was Zeke Kyle! With the swastikas dripping blood and everything. They rip them down, we make more. Traitors first, okay? That's our motto. So what happens is we start meeting other people like JPFO, Aaron Zellman. Aaron Zellman died a couple of years ago, and in honor of him, these DVDs are about 5 movies. The Gang, which is about the ATF. The Second Amendment, which is a great historical perspective on, you know, the creation of the Second Amendment and why, and what each word means and why and all that. It's a great film. No guns for Jews. No guns for Negroes. Title of the film's in here, Where Gun Control Really Came From and Why. Because when the slaves were freed, oh heck no, we don't want them defending against guys in white pointy sheets, man. You need to be disarmed. Take your lynching like a man. That was the source of gun control. And what Aaron Zellman did is he found out through, you know, Dodd's father, Senator Dodd, in the 60s, he was one of the attorneys in the Nuremberg trials. And he knew of the Nazi gun control laws. And he had them translated, Library of Congress, and it was like page by page, verbatim. There's books on it, it's in here, you can find it, whatever. It was verbatim. The Nazi gun control of the 30s is the 1968 Gun Control Act in America. This is well known to guys in the don't know that, and then you're going to find out some good. Now, what I want to do, my battery's almost done here, so I'm going to go ahead and try and get through this real quick. Yeah. I'm going to read you, we have a magazine, Freedom's Phoenix Digital Magazine. And what happened was last month, it was, a space station, orbiting Mars, mining an asteroid. And the question was, should we stay or should we go? And the vast majority of all our authors and people, these are, the big guys. I mean, around the country, you probably recognize a lot of the names in the freedom movement. I mean, like Doug Casey and Ron Paul, Lou Rockwell, Walter Block, and Boston Tea Party, and Bill Puper, and Butler. I mean, big names in the freedom community that have been going to the freedom summits that we do every year since '01. All of a sudden, wow, man, they're on, all the TV and they're in this revolution camp. Because we have been warning our friends and family and so on for over a decade what's coming. 3 weeks after 9/11 was our first Freedom Summit. We go, yep, here we go. That Sunday, 3 weeks after, bombs started dropping in Afghanistan. They haven't stopped since. Because war on terror is a tactic. It's never going to stop. They don't want this. It's not meant to be won. It's meant to be fought. And the Patriot Act was done not to protect America from terrorists. It was to protect the government from us. And it's all about a database. And Aaron Zellman, Jews for Preservation of Firearm Ownership, knew that. You do not get on a database. The first thing is database, then confiscation. This month's cover is a sequel to last month's cover, January 2013's E-Zine. The question, should we stay or should we go? And the response was overwhelming for staying and fighting for freedom here in America where it was won before. While there are some open to finding freedom elsewhere, it looks like history will record that America's people resisted enslavement again. How successful we were will depend a great deal on what we do now. The February 2013 cover offered another imagination spark for one lifestyle choice here on Earth that is more likely than people know. In fact, they're building these cities now out in the ocean. The question asked all of our invited authors for this month's edition was, where would we go? Donna and I had no predetermined answer or limits on what the answer might be. I suspected there would be a lot of advocates for staying put, grandma's house, the basement, a favorite bug out location, etc. But not a single author responded. No interest whatsoever in advocating for a location, or just as likely, no desire to give out information about where they might go. Interesting, huh? Done short of material for a full E-Zine, so I'm certain you'll enjoy this one, and there were some last-minute articles submitted that were on topic. With the issue of gun control a hot topic now, it was nice that we had room for this important issue. And if we are going to make our stand in America, I'm pretty sure that gun rights are going to be an important part of our future. I hope to keep this article short by supplying several links that may fill in some blanks. Fortunately for me, I do 3 hours of radio every weekday, so I get to fully express myself and chronicle the evolution of my thoughts, so I'll provide some show links that expand on my comments for those more interested. But I do wish to share what I think is very important information that is being overlooked in the vast majority of discussions in America and around the world. Database, database, database. I'll just skip to the end. The current rhetoric on both sides of the gun control debate isn't really about taking Americans' firearms. It's about giving a list of all the firearms and who has them and who wants them. Examples of how disarmament is done. First you get a list, and then you go get them. Anyone that resists is killed, along with a long list of whoever else is deemed a threat to the state. For the 1994 election cycle, several libertarian street activists filed over 30 initiatives in the state of Arizona to demonstrate the types of legislation we would submit as legislators. Many were very popular and would immediately become bills submitted by opportunistic politicians that knew a good PR opportunity when they saw one. Issues like the elimination of some unpopular taxes, fully informed juries, warnings against internet regulations, the separation of child and state, education reform, Arizona's secession should the national debt reach $9 trillion, we knew, and unrestricted concealed carry of firearms. In less than 3 months, we collected well over 30,000 petition signatures in support of our no-compromise, hardcore interpretation of gun rights. Libertarians and their gypsy booths would cast a big footprint at almost any event. See, I knew that would happen. Butt head. Does get good though. 30,000 petition signatures in support of our no-compromise, hardcore interpretation of gun rights. Libertarians in their gypsy booths would cast a big footprint at almost every event that drew more than even a few thousand people. Home improvement shows, car shows, gun shows, rodeos, festivals, etc. And there was a constant line in front of our tables. This prompted the legislature and law enforcement statewide to come up with a state-permitted concealed carry permit system. It quickly passed, and we immediately filed a referendum against it to demonstrate our opposition to any government restrictions on the bearing of arms. The sponsoring name on the filing documents was for the initiative, and the filing was SAFE. Second Amendment is for everyone. We had safe legislators and unsafe city councilmen, and safe gun owners, and safe shoots, and safe training for years in our efforts to change Arizona's culture by fending off the invasion of politicians and media that had Arizona's gun-friendly environment in their crosshairs. The events surrounding my early awakening included 1988 National GOP Convention. Read my lips, no new taxes, George Bush. U.S. bonds had gone to over 8%. Greece, Italy, or Spain hit 6%, the whole world freaks out. And still they weren't able to sell enough to cover United States of America Incorporated spending. Japan and West Germany wasn't buying enough U.S. debt. USA debt not selling well, and one of the main concerns of foreign investors was that the Americans had a history of overthrowing abusive governments that taxed too much. The new taxes. Americans were making their displeasure obvious. Government opposition to the militia, aka anyone that has a firearm and goes shooting with others and expresses their opposition, broke their promise not to increase their tax burden. Then the ATF goes rogue across the nation. The savings and loan crisis exposed a lot of economic weaknesses in America, and the bailout option was introduced to our generation of young adults in the early 90s. Brady Bill, background checks, Ruby Ridge, Waco, crime bill, assault weapons ban, terrorist legislation, Bill Clinton, Janet Reno, and Assistant U.S. Attorney under Reno, Janet Napolitano. During the 1990s, safe gun owners wouldn't get involved in the politics of Second Amendment advocacy and instead educated the populace of the benefits of self-defense. Our Safe Map merchant awareness program used the power of wallet voting to encourage gun owners to not shop at retailers that banned firearms and take their business where they were welcome, or the early uses of the internet by us for social change. But in the background, we could see the expansion of lists. Even though we were promised that the government would not keep records of background checks, we knew better. And here in Arizona, the passage of SB 1070, a camouflage of immigration reform, sent every government data stream on the people in America straight to Homeland Security. Over the years, we would get to know many individuals, groups, and organizations in the gun rights community. It was from our firsthand experience with the National Rifle Association that we learned it was the largest impediment to gun rights we faced. In 1994, we were asked to participate in a selective meeting of Second Amendment advocates. They had many groups and organizations in Arizona represented. It was made clear to us then that Republican Arizona Congressman John Kyle would be allowed to vote for the crime bill, assault weapons ban, and still receive an A rating from the NRA, and that we were expected to help in his election, and the relationship quickly went down from there. Lots of stories. At the time, we were most influenced by the writings of L. Neil Smith, a science fiction writer that was heavily involved for decades as a freedom activist in both the Libertarian Party and the NRA. L. Neil clearly shared our opinion of both organizations and saved the caucus. L. Neil Smith and Aaron Zellman, jpfo.org, Jews for Preservation of Firearms Ownership, will later write two books together, Hope and the Mitzvah. Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, Aaron Zellman, as its representative, was clearly the most uncompromising entity in the gun rights sphere of influence until his death in 2010. It is out of a sense of respect for him and his efforts that we have chosen several JPFO gun rights films to produce the compilation DVD that we are burning by the thousands and distributing. And that distribution started yesterday, along with a full campaign to educate Arizona residents about the issue of gun rights. We hope that Aaron's legacy will live on and that our effort is an inspiration to others around the world. It has already started, by the way. Gun Owners of America's Larry Pratt became a friend to the Arizona gun rights activist, and as did then Sheriff Richard Mack of Graham County, southeastern Arizona. We continue to exercise our own unique style by setting the highest standards possible without regard to political correctness or concern for vote totals that we didn't trust anyway. We would have Safe Shoot that would pit state legislators and congressional candidates against each other for prizes. We would grant awards to the most accurate long-range shooters. We would raffle off battle rifles and custom long-range rifles, concealed carry rigs with firearms, and even a 50 caliber scoped rifles as fundraisers for various projects. Safe events are popular, and during election season, the politicians will line up, but any speaker that wished to address our gathering had to have a color photograph taken of them holding a black battle rifle with a pistol grip and attachable magazine. This was very effective in changing the culture here in Arizona. Within 2 election cycles, it was expected that Arizona politicians demonstrate their open support for these types of firearms. This idea was L. Neil Smith's offering for making sure that posers could be more easily identified. Lots of this. Gun rights is defined by activists that made it very clear what was expected of their politicians for their support seemed to be safe in Arizona. Each year, other gun organizations and activists would take advantage of the cultural political shift and would expand gun rights in Arizona. But from past experience, we knew that Arizona freedom activists would draw special attention. And then we give links and so on. I share this background so that you can understand that we have been in the trenches of this war for 20 years and are familiar with the tactics and the personalities involved. I am of the opinion that the economic situation is far worse than it's going to shut down my battery. I am of the opinion that this economic situation is going to bring about the same kind of thing that was going on in the early 90s. So, where are we at now? We are activists. We're this thing in the past. The first places that we went, City Hall. Every floor, receptionist, here's a stack, 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 stack. Parking garages. Go down to the state legislature. Every legislator gets one of these packs. Then, once they get it, then we go to all the fire stations. All the firemen. You get them, you attack their strength. The rest is just a mop-up operation. We go to the police stations. We go to the municipal buildings. We go into, the state legislature. We go to the Capitol. Boom, 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 boom. Every floor. Here's a stack of stuff, stack of stuff, stack of stuff. That happened Thursday and Friday. We always do them first. Then we go to the public. That's what these orange flyers are. They're called trash can flyers. When you go out to get your trash can to bring in, you got a yellow, orange, I got a ticket for not recycling my what the hell. Okay? I start reading this and I'm going, ouch. In the chest, man. Office of Total Information Awareness, come and see my ass. All right? That logo you see at the top left with all-seeing eye looking down on the earth is real. In 2002-03, the Total Information Awareness was a project by DARPA, and they put it out on the internet and sent it out. I thought it was a spoof. I thought they were making fun of us. They are. Now, they changed this logo, but it's all over the place. I go, oh, yeah, that's good. I want to talk about that one. You'll see down towards the bottom, we're at the bottom check mark. That's the only real change that we made to this the last time we did it, is in addition to getting your mandatory vaccinations, did you get your gun registered? Now, normally, where it said gun register, we would put phone numbers to the newsrooms of the paper, the radio, the television stations. They know about this. They get thousands of calls. This time, we just said, yeah, we're just going to send them to a webpage. Same. It is the gleaning from Freedom's Phoenix, all the news that has to do with gun rights, all the videos, all the interviews, all the, what's going on. But one thing, before Alan speak, is I wanted to show you this one thing. As I'm doing this, I'm going, this is, I couldn't believe it. If you are an NRA member, this gun control bill was put forward in your name. This week, it came out, H.R. 21 NRA Members Gun Safety Act of 2013, more blah, 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 database. You get to keep your gun, don't worry about database. This is all about the database, in my opinion, because they know they only, in the last line of my article went something like this. Of course they need a list, because they know that they only get one shot at this. Do you think they're going to go door to door now and say, give us your guns, or just make it in New York City? How's that, New York? How's that working out? So you go, all right. So if they're coming, they're going to come, and they got a list. And a lot of people don't know, and I just recently found out this. In Germany, when they finally went and did the roundup of everybody, it was tens of thousands of people in one day. Whoa. I couldn't be more concerned, not just about this issue, and people will trade their gun, their privacy, you know, I get to keep my gun this week. Now, I know whatever your position is on the immigration reform thing, I knew from the beginning, and Russell Pierce go around, and I'm a domestic terrorist, and freaky Ernie, and, you know, crazy libertarians, and all that kind of stuff, which we fought back, and filed ethics, and, you know, just long story back, couch quit it back and forth. But we knew that the day this law went into effect, CCW lists, real estate brokers, attorneys, hunting license, fishing license, driver's license information, deadbeat dad stuff, everything went straight to Homeland Security the next day. Database. What are they going to do with the database? Now what do they have? HIPAA. Every single thing ever happened to use, digitized, put on, you get dental x-ray, boom, they got it. They want to know if you're a disgruntled Marine from Afghanistan. You got post-traumatic stress syndrome? Do you have a marijuana card? Did you go see a psychiatrist? Are you getting therapy? Are you taking some prescription medication that they might not approve of later? Now, what did they promise us before? Background check, we're going to throw away. No, we'll never keep. We find out, of course, they kept it. Anybody that thought they wouldn't is a moron. So this is where our position is. These DVD packets, these are for distribution. Chris, Gary, Verda, I'm sorry, what was your name? Kim also came around and helped. And whenever we need help, there's always people stand up. I have 30,000 blank DVDs ready to be burned, and here's 10% of them. These are for you to give out to your friends, mass produce and copy the films, rock and roll and whatnot. There's some information in there, they had cards and so on. This is for putting in your neighborhood. You sit on track, you don't have to get out of your car. You just drive up, you don't get to get on their property, you don't have to go up to their door, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to get out of your car. You go by, you just go lid, boom, thumb, and there it hangs. We are activists. We allow you to take the activism that we do and the stance that we take and the no compromise, and you can go do whatever from that level that you want. But my thing is this, as I am about this database and in NRA's name and everybody sitting at the table doing whatever the heck justification they can to get you on more lists, my concern is that where is the no compromise gun organizations now that will not use gun rights as negotiation? Yeah, we get to keep them for now in exchange for we'll give up our DNA samples. This is what's coming, in my opinion. And that's why we're resurrected safe and going doing this, because we're looking. Larry Pratt came on my radio show after each of his CNN interviews. And Larry and I had gone through this with Aaron and so on in the 90s. And my first question, I go, look, man, are you going to trade out? You know, what's the about? I already know what this is about. It's database. He goes, yep, you're right. That's exactly what's going on. Boom. So I am of this opinion. Now, the actual details of different threats, I don't care. You know, Alan can just say, you know, the details of the law and so on, but that means nothing to me. I don't even read it, because I know it doesn't matter. They're going to BS and lie, whatever the heck it says, or interpret it however they want anyway. It's not about that. It's about getting you to go, thank you, NRA, for letting me have my guns, and all I had to do was tell the man where they all were. Alan Korwin. Oh, before you go, I'm sorry. This gentleman needs to go, and he wanted to announce an event. Real quick.
I'll just take 2 or 3 minutes of your time. My name is Tony Tangalos. I'm going to send some flyers down. I brought about 40. I don't think I have enough. So I'll bring some out. I have a radio show called The Prepper Patch on KFNX. It's from Sundays from 2 to 3. Speak up. It's about preparedness. Thank you. Our guest is Steve Cates, Dr. Sky. He's a constitutional rights speaker. Most of you probably know of him. I also have a festival called Prepper Fest AZ. It is, I'm going to pass these flyers out. It's a preparedness festival. I don't have Ernie's voice.
Nobody does.
So this is a flyer called Prepper Fest AZ. Can you take those, please, sir? Just pass it around. So the festival is April. Kind of overmodulating here.
I'll just speak loud. loud. The festival is about preparedness. So we just changed the location. It was going to be at the pavilions at Talking Stick. It's now, we're growing out outside, oversizing that space. We're going to Scottsdale 101, which is a Circuit City location between Babies R Us and Sports Authority. It's a 35,000 square foot vacant space. It's a 3-day festival. We're going to have all sorts of education. This show is not about vendors together with people like some of the past prepper shows. We are going to have vendors there, but the real emphasis of this show is on education. We're going to have an enormous educational booklet, which I think I'm going to now do digitally because it'll be a heck of a lot cheaper than trying to print them. And then we're going to give it out via email. So it's going to have animal husbandry, ham radio, permaculture, vendors, education. We have meetup groups. All the meetup groups that are prepper groups in town, we're inviting them to have a free booth. The ABC Club, they have a free booth there to promote the ABC Club. And it's all about raising the awareness of the need to prepare and getting into groups, having places to bug out, learning about aquaponics, hydroponics, solar ovens, got a whole list here. Naturopathic healing, food grade stuff, water purification. And it's also going to be very kid-friendly, so bring your kids. We're going to have all sorts of activities for children. There's going to be things called seed balls with the Valley Permaculture Alliance. We're going to have a petting zoo. We're going to have free helium balloons. We're going to have arts and crafts, a wheat grinding station. Chef Tess from Honeywell Farms is going to be doing baking classes. So I want to really thank you, Ernie, for allowing me to give a brief introduction. Maybe I could come back and talk a little more about it before the show. And please tell your friends and neighbors and about Prepper Fest AZ and the Prepper Patch Radio Show. Thank you.
Did you all understand everything Ernie said?
Yes.
My voice is in the basement. I don't know why. I'll do my best to project. I got a couple of things I'm going to pass around. I need these back. You got me there, Ernie? You all know what the SHOT Show is? Do you know who I am?
Yeah. Tell them anyway.
I'm Alan Korwin. I wrote the Arizona Gun Owners Guide. I've written 14 books. 10 of them on gun laws. When you write a book, your subject adopts you. So be careful what you write. I've become a nationally known expert on gun law. And because of that, gun policy and gun rights. I'm on radio and TV all the time now because I know the subject. And I straighten out these guys on the news all the time. I did a show on NBC, I'll tell you about that. It was a very interesting show. But I was at the SHOT Show, that's the Shooting, Hunting, and Outdoor Trade Show. And that's where the entire industry across the planet gets together. We meet in Las Vegas. It's one of the biggest trade shows in the world. And it's not open to the public, it's just for the trade. I brought a copy of the directory for the SHOT Show. I'll pass this around. It's amazing. Here. That's what heaven's going to look like. Yeah, that's heaven. And I'll mention something about this. Arizona is now the gun-friendliest state in the union. Thank God. I can't tell you what all the plans are, but we're going to try and attract industry to this state, the firearms industry. I'm about activism with results. I want programs that do things and that have an effect. Our industry is robust, making money, sales are through the roof, the industry is cash rich, the politics back east, they hate guns. They hate the gun industry. Every time I meet those guys, they hate guns. I put a consoling hand on their shoulders and I tell them, it's not good to hate. And they can't reconcile that with their wacky liberal feelings. Remington has 1,200 employees. That's a lot of tax base and commerce and high quality jobs. We would like to have the Remington plant here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Paul Gosar, Congressman Gosar, without knowing what we're doing, approached Remington and said, you ought to move here to the gun-friendliest state in the union. And we are working on getting industry from across the SHOT Show, from across the industry to move here, out of California, out of Connecticut, out of Massachusetts, and they would be great here. They would build our economy. We would welcome them with open arms. That's what we want here in this state. We like that industry instead of them being hated over there. Remington is making products that they can't buy themselves. They should be here. So that's one of the things we're doing that I want you guys to know about that most people don't know. And in that light, how many of you know what Train Me Arizona is? When we passed constitutional carry, I decided that since you no longer needed a permission slip from the government to discreetly carry a firearm, I mean, in this state since 1912, you could carry a firearm openly, right? With no permit, no test, no government paperwork. It was freedom. You could just carry a firearm openly. And as we became urbanized, it became a little more difficult to do because it was polarizing and it drew attention to you. And they do it in Prescott and in Kingman a little more freely than maybe in downtown Scottsdale, but people still do it. And if you fell over the gun, you all of a sudden were a criminal. Well, in 2010, we changed that with constitutional carry. And it made the news, and the news said, well, we'll have puddles of blood in Wild West and Dodge City, and everybody will shoot everybody. Well, we held a banquet, had 400 people there, and the service was real slow, and the waiters all got out alive. And everybody was armed to the teeth. We had a 50-50 raffle, and they counted the cash on the table. There were thousands of dollars in cash on the table, and nobody stole it. None of the dangers happened, and it was all because we had constitutional carry. So I decided we should have education for everybody, not just the 2% of the public willing to bow and scrape and get the permission slip, right? Half the homes have guns. So everybody should be educated. So I said, let's put money together and let's form Train Me Arizona, where everybody is trained and everybody knows how to use a gun, because guns are dangerous. And guns are supposed to be dangerous. And they wouldn't be much good if they weren't dangerous. So we formed Train Me Arizona, and we put up things like this all over the city. Train Me Arizona. Guns save lives. Educate your kids. And the city of Phoenix tore these down. We had an $11,000 contract to put these up in bus shelters. And they tore them down 9 days after we had them up. Well, we're suing them on free speech, due process, and equal protection grounds. And the Goldwater Institute's representing us. We're at the appeals court level. We file the papers on February 26th. And I met with, it's weird to say, Goldwater Institute. So we'll see where this goes. Whether we win or lose, this is a winning case. The city of Phoenix says you can't say educate your kids, guns save lives, and teach gun safety and marksmanship. Not just gun safety, because the antis will turn that into gun avoidance. This is about you gotta fire a gun at a range to learn how guns work. Well, the Train Me Arizona program is bigger than that. It's about everybody ought to go to the range, rip off a couple of rounds, exercise your freedoms, learn how to shoot, bring kids to the range. And the Train Me Arizona program was all about training. You can go to trainmeaz.com, see the website, and see what we're doing. But when they pulled our signs down and stopped us and we had to sue them, they kind of pulled the rug out from under us. So phase 2 is this business about bringing industry to the state. Many of the larger players in the game, Buzz Mills, who ran for governor and runs Gunsight up in Korwin, and some of the ranges in town, some of the bigger industrial players, put money in a kitty to do this. And the next thing we did was come out with the Arizona Firearms Industry Directory. We did this with the Commerce Department and with some of the people who were involved. Robbie Barkman of Robar. Anybody know Robar Industries? Some of you guys are really into it. Wide World of Maps, you know Wide World of Maps? My company, Bloomfield Press, we're the largest publisher and distributor of gun law books in the country. We carry about 250 books and DVDs on how to shoot and gunfighting tactics and self-defense, and books on the gun laws that describe the laws in plain English. This is a directory of the industry in Arizona, and this is being used to attract other players. Because of the aerospace and defense industry, we have the infrastructure for the gun industry. Tooling, dyes, metalworking, fabrication, optics, electronics, cryogenics, you name it. Everything you need to make guns is already here. And there are 300 plus firms in manufacturing and the gun industry here. You want to take a guess what the financial impact of the gun industry is here every year so far? It's over $1 billion a year. $1 billion a year. We ought to double that. So we made this directory, and it's circulating in a small group to attract more industry. And I need this back. It's one sample copy, but I'll circulate this.
This way.
There's a page in there near the front with the numbers we were able to put together, and I'll need that back. We're talking about how to circulate this thing, but anyway, there's that. Now, I got a couple other things to circulate, and then I'll talk about. And by the way, let me do this. Does somebody have a pen? Thing? You got that black pen there? I send. How many of you get my page 9 report? Oh, a lot. Cool. I circulate some of this news by email. It's my personal list. It doesn't go anywhere but me, and I don't send out a lot because I never have enough time. But if you want to get the news that I circulate and things like this, just put your email on here so that I can read it, all right? And I'll send you news when I have it. I got a real butt kicker that I got from a contact the other day. Maybe some of you have heard this already, but I got this hours after it was released. Ernie mentioned about databases. Now, he and I disagree on this a little bit. Databases are important at this point in time. Everything you do, databases matter. He couldn't read his damn story because his database gave out. A Kindle is. That's what his computer and his display is. And you can't buy soap without a database. It's manufactured in a factory that relies on databases. Its delivery on a truck relies on databases. You have email. That's basically database driven. Everything is database driven. Here's where I think the nexus to guns is. Guns are mechanical devices. They are not database. They are not electronic. There's nothing digital about them. They're mechanical. They should stay that way. My motto is keep guns off the grid. Your gun in your pocket right now has no connection to the grid. I don't like guns that have electronic stuff in them. Mechanical sights, gunpowder, chemistry, physics, that's where guns should stay, and the government doesn't like that. Guns with electronics that go off at a distance, that recognize their user, even laser sights are okay, I suppose. Red dot, tritium wears out. Guns are mechanical. I think they should stay mechanical. I do not like that. As far as background checks, and I'm big on words. I'm going to give you some ideas about words, and I handed out a thing to compare. You know, they want to say the powerful gun lobby. I want to say a civil rights organization. Because the NRA is a civil rights group and a training group. The powerful gun lobby, look up the lobbies in Washington. They want to say they're the most powerful lobby in Washington. That is total BS. The 10 most powerful lobbies in Washington are the banks, the drug companies, the airlines. That's where the power is, right? It's not, the NRA is, last I looked, behind the Choctaw Indians. There's all, you know, cities, Cleveland does more lobbying than the NRA. The NRA is one of many. The railroads, the shipping companies, big industrial players are the important lobbies. The NRA has pull in its arena, and they do some good work. Don't knock them so totally. They do some things that are important. They kill a lot of bad bills. I may not agree with everything they introduce. Nobody does. I don't. But they kill a lot of bad bills. If they weren't there, the antis would run crazy. As far as, go ahead, give it to them. As far as universal background checks, that is a code word for universal gun registration. When you hear universal background check, which sounds nice, that's a code word for universal gun registration. Completely correct, and this has been true forever. Universal gun registration is a list of everybody who has a gun in the central government office, so they know who has it and what they have. And that's the precursor to taking guns away. It happened every single time in the 20th century. That's how it's done, and it's a really bad idea. Now, libertarians and anarchists and anarcho-capitalists are a little on the utopian side. I'm a much more pragmatic guy. I'm results-oriented. You want a perfect world? You're not going to get there, and you're going to compromise what you've got. There is no such thing as pure freedom. Doesn't exist. Never has. I got one example. Yeah, up here. But I got one example. Mountain men in the 1830s. There were no fences. You could go out, dig a hole, take a dump, yell, make a fire, whatever you wanted. You had total freedom. And there was nobody else around. As soon as you got 100 people in a little bit of rules so you don't take a dump in your neighbor's yard. That's the way it is. When you got 5 million people living in one city, you end up with social structure and a social contract, I'll put it in quotes, and you have rules. And society, total freedom, with structure, and this guy, it doesn't work that way.
I'm your shadow.
There's a metaphor for this. The guy wanted for murder in 3 states, who's a psychotic, who will kill anybody who looks at him the wrong way, they got a picture of him on the marshal's wall. You walk in the marshal's office, and there's a picture of him, and it says, wanted, $5,000 reward, and the guy is totally dangerous. You don't want him walking in the local hardware store and buying a gun. You don't, as a normal, rational person. He may end up getting a gun, and if you get him behind bars, because he will kill anybody if he's not controlled. There are people like that. Go down to the jail and look. There are crazy, there are evil, dangerous people in the world, and the rest of us have to control them a little so we can eat breakfast in peace. We have 300 million guns, and it's very peaceful. One of the big lies in the news is that we live in a violent society. His technical word for that is bullshit. You have breakfast, lunch, dinner, go about your business, it's perfectly peaceful. How many of you saw violence today? Nobody. Yesterday? Nobody. Last week? Nobody. There's no violence out there. On TV. Lots on TV. Lots. Maybe you've seen some in your life. Maybe a few of you live somewhere where there is some and you see some. Most of us, there isn't any. It's a lie. They're giving you Kool-Aid. But there are people out there who are dangerous, who need to be controlled, and I don't want them walking in my store and buying guns and ammo. I don't, because the picture's on the marshal's wall. Now the system we have, and I'll pass this around, the NICS system, here's a diagram of how the NICS background check works, and it shows you how registration works and where registration comes out. The NICS system's really bad, has to go. It costs a fortune. The plan the FBI has now, what the Brady Law did, was make a system where when you walk in a gun store, they take Thane's name, number, ID, the gun he's buying, and they send it to the FBI so that he can buy a gun. Very bad idea. And they make a list. They say they don't list. The law says it's illegal to make a list, but there's no penalty if they do. Right? We need teeth in our laws, and I'm pushing for that down at our legislature, and I'm talking to everybody. The law shouldn't say it's illegal to make a list. If you make a list, you go to prison. Subtle distinction. Every statute should be written with a tooth clause, teeth clauses. It can't say, thou shalt not make a list, which is how they always write. Congress shall not do this. It has to say, if Congress does this, the Congress will and pay a fine and get beaten. That's not cruel and unusual. That's fair. That's fairness. So instead of sending, the NICS system is corrupt and bad. They say they don't make a list. The law says they can't make a list, but there's no way to tell. There's no way to tell, and nobody trusts them. And there's a reason nobody trusts them. There's another system called BIDS, B-I-D-S, the Blind Identification System. Ernie doesn't like this, and I don't blame him. And Aaron Zellman, when I spoke to Aaron when he was alive, I worked with Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. which Ernie said 3 times, but said it so fast you couldn't hear it. Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, who made all the videos on that DVD he wants you to take, jpfo.org. Go to their website, at least look, send them some money, join. You don't have to be Jewish. In fact, most of their members are not. But they have a rabbi running the thing, which is good. And they have a firearms trainer in Tucson who's Jewish, who's the executive director, jpfo.org. It's a great organization. BIDS runs the other way around. Instead of you send your name to the FBI sends the name of the murderer to the gun dealer. They send the NICS index, that's its technical name, they send the list of the prohibited possessors to the gun dealer. So Fane walks in and says, I want to buy a gun, and the gun dealer looks up Fane. He's not on the list. He says, here's your gun. Now, the idea that in society today, the way things are going, you will have no background check system of any kind is utopian, meaning it's not real, it will not happen. NICS is not going to evaporate into nothing. We have a choice between everybody is going to run through NICS and be recorded by the FBI, including your dad gives you a gun, and if you don't go to NICS, you both go to prison, or you get your gun from your dad or your brother or a stranger, and none of you are on the gun dealer's list, and it's okay, and the FBI doesn't know you did it, which is fine with me. And they're not going to do that because they're going to hate us. They're going to tie them for 20 years, and we're going to move freedom ahead in a whole bunch of other directions. Everything's on the table. We have to confound the NICS system by saying we want the BIDS system. You want universal background checks? How about BIDS? There's another advantage to BIDS. It's 10 times less expensive. Instead of 900 people working in cubicles 18 hours a day to take your name, the FBI just sends the list of the hardened criminals to the gun store. Well, I don't know if we can trust them with the names. Oh, we're trusting them to sell guns. I don't know that we can trust the FBI. Now, this is really controversial, but the idea of letting them push everybody, you know, has to have their name sent to the FBI, very bad idea. And Aaron Zellman would not go for this, but it's an alternative, it's a position, it's something. Otherwise, you just have to say, we don't want background checks, and that doesn't fly when you're on TV. I don't know if I should open this up to this, because I got a whole bunch of other really good stuff. Go ahead, one question.
How is the bid system different from the no-buy list that Rahm Emanuel has been pushing, working exactly like the no-fly list, where they arbitrarily put anybody on it at any time, and you've got no recourse?
Okay.
You make it sound nice and pretty that only the hardened criminals, rapists and murderers, they want to put anybody who disagrees with them on the no-buy list,
right,
and you've got no recourse
right.
at all.
The no-fly list is a separate problem, a very bad problem, and what Ernie's saying, I said we will push freedom ahead in different directions for the next 20 years. The idea that the government wants to arbitrarily put you on a list and you can't fly, you don't know if you're on the list and you have no recourse, that belong in prison.
That's exactly how this bids would work, because the government would be saying, these people are prohibited from having them.
And if that's the problem, then push for no background check of any kind in any way and see if you're taken seriously, see if that gets to first base, see if you get on TV and people think you're anything but a tinfoil hat nut, and that's one option.
Watch me.
No, this is a fallacy.
And we need the Ernies out there. And we need the people saying, we gotta have universal background checks and calling it the gun show loophole, which is total lie nonsense. I'm trying to monkey wrench this whole thing and saying, you like that idea? How about you do it without making a list of gun owners? Because a list of gun owners is how every society in the 20th century disarmed and committed genocide. Are you supporting genocide, sir? And then now they're a deer in the headlights and they can't push their agenda. Bids. I hear you. So, okay, this is complex.
Rahm Emanuel says, have a no-buy list.
Where's my
This sounds like a no-buy list to me.
I hear you, okay.
But Alan, every time we compromise with these guys,
Here we go.
things get worse. There should be no compromise.
I move that we go back to his original presentation until it's done.
Okay, and I know this is controversial, and here's where we stand. Okay, let me switch over to something else that's really juicy. And we'll come back to this and discuss it and see if we can come up with something we all agree with, or we'll push ahead on 4 separate fronts. We need universal background checks. We recognize that's cover story for universal gun registration, which we don't support. There's an alternate system that's 10 times cheaper, does the same job, and monkey wrench the existing gun list, or maybe there's something else, there's a no compromise position, and we'll look at it. Are those things still circulating?
Yes.
Okay, make sure they keep circulating. There's another step to improving our position, and it's a great step, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with this one. The more gun owners we have in America, the stronger we're going to be. Does anybody disagree with that one? Nope. Can we get some applause for that idea? Break the tension. My next book is on press right now. I said I've written 14 books. 13 of them are in print. The 14th, I put out a little flyer. Your first gun. This couldn't have come out at a better time. Should you buy one and join 60 million safely armed American homes? Oh. There's no gun on the cover. There's nothing in here about gun mechanics and how a revolver, how to aim your sights and how to take a stance and the Weaver grip. There's none of that. There's plenty of Your First Gun books, Guns 101. That is not what this is about. I wrote this for anti-gun relatives. I wrote this for people who come to me at the gun shows and, should I buy a gun? What kind of gun should I get? This is all social and cultural issues. Tell you what, I'll pass this around. Now this is a digital proof. The colors will be better on the original, the paper will be a little different. Hang on one second. The idea here is for gun owners to buy this and give it away to friends of theirs. How many of you have an anti-gun relative or friend? I kept this book as cheap as I could at 10 bucks, and I'll be selling them 4 for $20 so you can give them away. Give them to people who need it. This is, should I get a gun? Isn't it dangerous to keep a gun in the house? And the answer is, of course it is. Dangerous. They're supposed to be dangerous. And you should be able to handle it as a mature adult like 60 million other homes. The message that never gets out in the news. Where would I put the thing? That's how it's always asked. Where would I put the thing? What good is it if I have to keep it locked up? Can't the criminal just take it from me and use it against me? Don't you get that question? That's baloney that the antis like to use on you. Think about it. If that was true, you could just take it from him and use it against him. That's how it is. Well, what good is it if it's in the nightstand and I'm always in my office? Well, maybe you need 2. And you are now starting to understand immediacy. When it happens, you need the gun nearby. So maybe your spouse needs one, and you need one, and now you can start to understand why people all of a sudden need a second gun safe. And these questions they don't understand are answered in a human, normative way, and we're cutting right across the grain of what's going on. While they're discussing getting rid of guns, we're talking about buying a gun, a normal, decent process that people, how often should I practice? There's one line in there, how many bullets should I buy? How many bullets should I buy? And it starts out with, let's start by talking the talk. It's not bullets. That's only one piece. People who know nothing talk about buying bullets. You're talking about buying ammunition or cartridges or rounds. The media will be with 50 bullets in his pocket, and they sound like idiots to anybody who knows anything. And the next question is, how much ammunition do I need? Well, and then, you know, the nuts will tell you you never have enough. In an emergency, you always need more. And to the media, anything over 50 rounds is an ammo dump in a bunker by a mad guy who threatens the world. So there's a little bit of humor, and it addresses the subject in a way that gets through. I've watched media people read this and go, maybe I should get a gun. This can change the whole debate, and that's the goal. And it's written simply with big questions. We're moving the dialogue ahead. We need more people owning guns and understanding that it's simple. So, thank you. Okay, now, a little bit of breaking news. You know what happened with the ATF? Who's heard about this yet? Nobody. Really. How about yesterday? Yeah. Okay. I got this within hours of it happening from a contact of mine. This is a letter from Congress to the ATF, written January 31st. Today's what, the 2nd? So this is a day behind. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in Milwaukee opened up a phony storefront with a phony company name called, what did they call it? Let me see. Fearless Distributing. Fearless Distributing. It's a head shop. They're selling bongs and drug paraphernalia.
Yeah.
A good, wholesome store. They take Visa, dealing in vegetables and vegetable products. The real purpose of it is to sell guns under the counter to felons. This sounds familiar. They're selling guns to criminals so that they can catch the criminals.
Run fast and furious.
Isn't it something we've heard before? Well, they're also buying guns from criminals and paying double what they're worth. And the criminals are stealing the guns or buying them in gun stores for $700 and selling them to the ATF for $1,400, and the ATF is buying them with taxpayer money.
Tax dollars back.
In Milwaukee, Fearless Distributing. Well, some of these bad guys broke into an ATF car parked near the store, sold ATF out of the car, sold them to ATF for more than they're worth, and ATF bought them. And this letter is signed by Senator Grassley and Congressman Issa, and two other senators and congressmen, who were the guys in charge of the Fast and Furious investigation, and these are the guys who want to run the universal background check. I'm sorry, the universal gun registration system. I'll send this around too if you want to take a look. Are we to trust these guys? Are we to trust these guys? Is this the government we want or need? So that's breaking news. Now, Drudge is already on it. You guys haven't heard of it yet, but you heard it here first at Ernie's Breakfast Club.
Unless they read freedomsphoenix.com.
Oh, did you have that out already? Yeah, 2 days ago. So I'm way behind, and you guys are way behind. It's all a bacon. It's all right. Now I'm going to give you a little lesson in how to deal with the media. You know I do this, and I have some of this up on my website, gunlaws.com. There's a thing up there called How to Handle a Hostile Interview. I've done over 1,000 radio and TV interviews. So have you guys, is that list going around still? The email list, somebody got that?
List.
Did everybody?
Database. You put us on a list?
Database.
Stinking list.
Did it make you all the way around?
Yeah.
Yes? All right, Ernie, would you put this on the government list for me? I gotta tell you, you gotta be careful of lists, but you also gotta realize the post office has your name and address in order and delivers your mail. I mean, read Harry Brown's book, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. Ernie goes like this, a lot of it is up here. You know, there is no runaway to the middle of Ohio. Were you at Roy Miller's meeting when that guy came and he had moved to Missouri and he got himself 600 acres and he did the prepper thing. He learned how to farm, got himself animals, built a root cellar, and literally hid out. He did exactly what some of us dream about, And he said, man, the less you want to be known, the more the people around you want to know who you are. And these were all people who had lived there for 20 years. He had Amish, maybe it was Missouri. He had Amish and other farmers and people who were living a real quiet, wonderful life out peaceful in the middle of nowhere. And he's got his family and his kids, and he was shocked when he came back to Phoenix and had to deal with us and tell us what he did. And it was a life. It was really changed from what he did, but everybody wanted to know who he was, and he wasn't this isolated hermit that he expected, and it was okay. And if everything broke down, he could rely on his neighbors. And we've done a little of that where I live. I'm on a street, regular street here in Phoenix. We know our neighbors. If anything really broke down, we'd have to rely on them. We're in a society with 5 million people. I don't think we can live this isolated, utopian, whatever. How much ammo have you got? You can only shoot one gun at a time accurately, right? You need more toilet paper. You need more food. If you've got more than a week's worth of food, your problem's going to be your neighbors. Because by the time you're still eating and they're not, they've got a refrigerator full of rotted food and nowhere to throw it and no lime to put on top of it. Half of them don't have a shovel to bury it, right? They don't know what to do with turning green. And you've got a generator and your lights are on? Forget it. The generator's a liability. Okay. I was on NBC, Channel 12, and they gave me about 15 minutes. There were a panel of 12, E.J. Montini and Lori Roberts, and the host, E.J. Montini, Lori Roberts, a panel of 12, and the host. So it was 15-1 against me. I had them outnumbered. I am waiting for a shot at Piers Morgan. I will kick his butt so bad you never saw anything like it. I've been studying him. He's good for me because he asks all the questions, he bamboozles everybody. I analyze him. This is what I do. This is how my brain works. This is why I've done 14 books. And read that on Com about how to handle a hostile interview. It's an eye-opener. One of the things liberals do when you talk to them, and I encourage everybody to go deal with the not choir. Sit in on a Democrat meeting. Go to join the ACLU and see what they're about. Learn about your enemy, right? Keep your enemies close. It's hard to do. First of all, you can't dress like you bums are dressed today. You got to dress a little nicer, and even the vest. You can't go in there like this. You got to go in there without the vest. And sit quietly and just observe. If you open your mouth, you'll be ostracized. You've got to look and watch and learn and see how they think. And you'll get better at moving people towards freedom. You can inject one quiet question to try and move them or inject what I call cognitive dissonance, a little splintering pause, so that they are forced to consider their ideas that are totally bogus and don't make sense. We are on the right side of the debate. Freedom is the answer. You always ask yourself when an issue comes up, does it maximize freedom? Most of the time it doesn't. Does it maximize freedom? I got that from Sean Noble, who was John Shattuck's chief of staff. And it's the perfect question. It's short and sweet. Does it maximize freedom? So when I'm in an ACLU meeting and you go, these guns are terrible, and people actually bring them into their houses. They say things like this. And I'll say, the thing I don't get, I understand guns are so bad, but why do we give them to the police? And then they change the subject because they can't deal with it. But that little splinter that's there. On gunlaws.com, there's a thing called the politically corrected glossary. And these are words you can use and ideas you can inject to change the debate. So this thing starts at NBC, and the host very honestly, without realizing how bogus and crazy he is, he says, so Alan, and he knows me, I've been there before. What about these assault weapons? Surely you can understand we got to do something to control the assault weapons. I mean, let's just be reasonable. Shouldn't we do something about the assault weapons? And I turn to him and I say, now, assault is a kind of behavior. It's not a kind of gun. But you know what I'm talking about. Can't we do? I said, but assault is a kind of behavior. It's not a kind of gun. And he wants me to address his question, and I want him to think straight. You let them control the dialogue or you get nowhere. Well, what about high-capacity magazines? I said, that's a great question. We'll deal with that, but let's stay with assault. He wants to change the subject. The liberals do this all the time. Don't let them change the subject. Recognize when they're changing the subject. So we stay with assault, and he keeps going. He says, well, you know what I'm talking about. I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no such thing as assault weapon. That's why they're having so much trouble defining it. You're talking about a rifle. A rifle. Assault is a way people behave. It's not a kind of gun. And he gives up.
The Army designates assault rifles. The Army designates automatic rifles, assault rifles. They just don't designate automatic or assault weapons. But they do say automatic weapons, automatic rifles.
Now, okay, sir, as if you're the host. See, now you're changing the subject again. There is a technical definition from before World War II on a gun with a selector switch, and this is too technical for our audience or the time we have here. There is no such thing as assault weapon in these bills. They struggle to define them because assault is a kind of behavior, and you keep repeating because that's what they need. But okay, I've made that point, so maybe you get it. But let's look at normal capacity magazines. Why do the police want these? And what you're really talking about, and this is an important point, is balance of power. He went to the issue of, would the founding fathers want us to have these things? And the answer is, of course they would. And here's what you don't understand. The founding fathers wanted the public armed. The idea was to have balance of power. You've heard that phrase. This is the key phrase. If we're armed the same as the government, then there's a balance of power and liberty can survive. The one thing America has that none of the other nations have, that you keep trying to compare us to Japan or France or England, our government has never turned on its people. Never. In Japan, the government turned on its people. In England, in France, every other government has turned on its people. They've never done that here. You know why? They can't. They can't, because we're armed like they have. Oh, come on, you can't fire on an Abrams tank or an F-16. You're changing the subject again, and you're being silly. They're not sending F-16s against Cleveland. And if they do, all bets are off. All bets are off. And I didn't want to tell him, you see Wyoming and you watch what the Wyoming National Air Guard does. But the government's not going there. We're talking about taking people out of their homes and lining them up and doing what governments do. William Wallace. That doesn't happen here. Actually, it did happen here. It happened twice. They did it to the blacks, but they disarmed them first, and they did it to the American Indians. And they weren't able to disarm them so well, and they had a hell of a fight on their hands. That's why Americans are armed. That's what it's all about. It's about a balance of power. You can't let them run the debate because they'll keep changing the subject on you. So you have to know the points. You have to deal with them on this subject matter. Okay. And Ernie's giving me the sign about time. So, oops, wrong glasses. Feinstein's bill. I'll end with this. Before I end, let me do this. Who knows, and I'll have to, who knows how many articles there are in the Constitution? 7. Gun matter, he wins it. Who knows how many amendments there are in the Constitution? 27, he gets it. It's a gun map, tells you where you can shoot in Arizona. The man with the hat. Breaking news, Feinstein's gun bill, right? They made a whole big stink about Feinstein's gun bill. I studied it, I read it. It's 122 pages long. This made Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller, lead story. WorldNet Daily carried it, it's all over the place. There's something missing in Feinstein's bill. And everybody missed something in Feinstein's bill. I caught both. This is why you gave me your email address. And if you forgot, there's still time. You know what's missing in Feinstein's bill?
Common sense.
Criminals.
Yeah.
There's nothing in criminals. Not a thing. It only deals with innocent, honest people. It doesn't deal with criminals at all. There's something else missing in Feinstein's bill. Drugs. All the mass murderers were on psychotropic drugs. The big pharma issues. Every single one of them was on these drugs. And they said this is a big problem. It's not in there. You know what else isn't in there? Thank you. The SHOT Show catalog, is that still circulating? Come on. I need that back. And the letter from Congress, is that still circulating? And the Nix diagram? I actually had two. You can have that one. Thank you. People. There was nothing in her bill about crazy people. We have a problem with crazy people shooting places up, drugged up people shooting things up, criminals. None of that's in there. None of that's in there. So that's what was missing in Feinstein's bill. But you know what everybody missed? And this is going to freak you out. The bill has a list of guns that are banned, a long, long list, and it doesn't matter. It's a smokescreen. Because on page 2, it says any semi-automatic gun, rifle, pistol, or shotgun, that has a pistol grip. Now that sounds like a limitation. But on page 13, it says a pistol grip is defined as a grip. Or a thumbhole stock, or anything that can serve as a grip. So in other words, if you can hold the gun, it's banned. Any semi-auto with a magazine that has a grip is banned. So the list doesn't matter. The list is camouflage. It's a smoke screen. It's, technical word again, bullshit. The list does not matter. Semi-autos are banned by her bill. Is that amazing? Nobody noticed. They didn't read the bill. Her bill is a total ban on semi-autos. And the magazine size doesn't matter. She bans magazine size, but you can't have the gun they go in. That's her bill. Now, I spoke with Schweiker. There's not enough votes to get the semi-auto bill through Congress. And while Ernie's right, and he takes a very strong stand, scientists say Congress matters, voting matters, all that stuff matters. The Senate will be a squeaker on this. The House is 40 votes short at least. So the semi-auto ban won't go through. The universal background check scam for universal gun registration is a much closer fight. And we will have that fight, and the NRA will do whatever magic they do or don't do, including what I just saw from you. There's my website. And there's the politically corrected glossary. And down lower is the right there, news media accuracy. That's where you'll find the how to handle a hostile interview and some other interesting stuff. If I'm interesting, you'll find that interesting. The NRA, here's how to do a background check. We got to get them to promote bids. The chances of bids going will bottle up the work. It's a good system, a good idea. They'll hate it. The FBI will fight it tooth and nail because it diminishes their power dramatically. We can't distribute our secret list. Well, we're not giving you our names. Have a nice day. So, I think I've covered everything. I do need my book back, my only copy of Your First Gun, which is over here. I'll get that. And if you have questions, or you wanted to debate with me whether bids is worthwhile and whether that's a compromise, yes, sir.
Alan, I don't want to debate with you.
Good. Next question.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Debate.
Go ahead.
For decades, I've been seeing this 60 million households.
Right.
Since the 70s, 60 million households. Our population has almost doubled. My estimation would be that there's 150 million households. A survey, and 47% of the people said they had a gun in their house.
Right.
There's about 10% would not admit to it.
Let me give you numbers, okay, to cut to the chase.
All right, you cut to the chase.
315 million is the population of America. 69 million, I think that's the number, voted for Obama. So he won the election with 19% of the population of America. The other guy got 18%. That's the mandate. There's one number. So when they tell you, oh, it's a mandate, it's 19%. Oh, some are kids, some can't vote, some aren't registered. Right, 19% elected the president. Nobody knows how many people own guns. The estimate's 300 million. 140 million background checks by the FBI from 1998 to 2012. That's an actual number in a database. 140 million background checks. Not all of them are gun sales, but there's a hard number. Bloomberg News has 70 million households. Now the census shows 115 million households in America in the last census. That's a number. 115 million households, not 320 or 315 million people. There's more than one person per household. The estimates I saw in a couple of college studies ranged from 25 million armed households to 72 million. Nobody knows for sure. We picked a number based on some other studies, just under half of all households, so we're conservative, so that Piers Morgan could say to me, where do you get 60 million households? You numbers all bogus. And I'll say to him, fine, how many tens of million households do you think are safely armed, Piers? And let him pick a number, and I'll go with his 40 million. Fine, 40 million safely armed households. Next question, Piers.
Assume for the moment that we're able to convince them to go with the bid system as you suggest. How would compliance with the use of bids be shown? Because I'm sure that's one problem they have with it, which
Great
is
question.
they send FFLs the list. The FFL supposedly run the name against the list because the name is not sent to the FBI or whomever. The FBI can't really know that the name was missed.
Great question. No difference than now. Thane walks into a store, buys a gun, the gun dealer sells him the gun and never checks with NICS. How does the FBI know? They don't. The dealer risks his license and 5 years in jail and goes out of business for selling him the gun without checking NICS. It's a crime. And Thane could be an FBI agent checking out the dealer. So they have no idea if NICS is being used, and it's a crime not to use it. Now, the dealer Thane could be dating his daughter, and he goes into NICS and says, look up Thane to see if his daughter is dating a criminal. That's illegal too. So the dealer is under the same obligation to use NICS for a legitimate purpose and not use it for something else as they would be for bids. And the FBI or BATF can send around secret shoppers to see if they're acting properly. And there's a tiny, tiny percentage of dealers who use NICS illegally and they bust them. And the same would be true of bids. It's absolutely the same, no change. Yes, sir.
Alan, about 2 weeks ago, there was a story on the news. I can't remember if it was a regular network or PBS or C-SPAN about the gun debate, and they pointed out that the 38 gun law in Germany was basically a translated word for word to the 68 U.S. gun law. Except they said that the liberalized the purchase of firearms for most Americans. And did the same thing in Germany for Germans, except for the fact that it was Jews. Was that a misinterpretation?
That whole thing is a little out of perspective. I have the JPFO translation of the Nazi gun law. Parts of it are word for word. Small parts are word for word. Senator Dodd had it translated by the Library of Congress and used it as a basis for the 1968 Gun Control Act. They're not identical copies, it's not verbatim, but he needed something to use as a draft. The Germans had one, he got it, translated it. Aaron Zellman got the records of the translation, and they're similar, there are differences. That's the book, it's 25 bucks, you can buy one, look at it yourself. There's similarities.
But did the 68 law actually liberalize the purchase for most people?
I can't answer that with the specificity you want. The 68 Gun Control Act took our complete freedom to buy guns and federalized it totally. Now you had to fill out paperwork, you had to inform the government. For the first 10 years, it was barely used. People didn't know it existed. Took them a while to make the 4473 form.
So in that sense, it was liberalized.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I don't know how tightly the Nazis
No,
enforced it against the Jews.
In the sense of federalized.
Well, liberalized, you mean in permissive or left-wing liberals?
Federalized.
It federalized all our guns.
It liberalized.
Okay.
You allow a government to say you can buy something, then you're giving them jurisdiction to say you can't.
Absolutely
You don't
correct.
even list it. I mean, did I get permission to buy a hammer? Here, it says I can buy a hammer. It's in the Constitution. I mean, come on.
Let me bring up one
Let's
more
go
issue.
take two more questions, and then I got something to say.
I'm going to bring up one more quick issue that gets all the time I want you to understand. They keep asking, why do you need an AR-15, right? It's a common question. Piers does it all. Why do you need an AR-15? Here's the answer. In a free country like ours, ownership of property is not based on need. That's the communist model. You don't need 10 pairs of shoes. You don't need a refrigerator the size of a closet. And there's nobody in a position to tell you you need this. And by the way, Piers, you're not an American citizen, are you? You're a subject of the crown. In fact, you tried to take our guns away 200 years ago. Get over it. That's a side note. Here, ownership of property is simple. And if you really want to know, the question you're asking is, why do you want an AR-15? For the same reason the police do. Next question.
Okay, here, and then I got something to say.
I have a couple of suggestions in response to the subject matter. How about a grassroots ballot proposition for the government to mandate them to fund a list of all anti-gunner legislators, be given to everybody that buys a gun over the counter. And then the other suggestion I have is let's take up a offering to donate money to help these factories move to Arizona.
Okay, a couple of quick things. Mandating is generally a bad idea when you talk about maximizing freedom. Propositions are difficult because the news media is totally statist, and when you run a proposition, they promote it as absolutely bad and convince the useful idiots it's a bad idea, so we have a very hard time with propositions. And lists of anti-gunners, it's very hard to support for reasons that are too complex now, but your heart's in the right place. You've got to tweak the suggestion.
Why can't you use the argument for bids? By actually, it works for the TSA, they got a no-fly list, why can't you accept bids as an alternative mix?
That would be a reasonable argument for bids, but the main idea of bids is to say, we're not objecting to background checks. We don't want to sell a gun to a murderer in deference to what Ernie's saying. I don't want a murderer to walk in, buy a gun, and walk out. I agree with your idea. I just don't want you to put my name on a list because that allocates resources in the wrong direction. That records me as an innocent, has no crime-fighting component, and a 100 million name list is very expensive and does nothing. Let's just check out the bad guys. Don't you agree? And let them say, well...
I think you'd stun them.
We would stun them. We need somebody to stand up and say it.
You'd stun them if you gave them the argument, well, this is the same as the no-fly list. What's wrong with that? And the liberal can't argue with that.
Well, and you ever see this argument where you push against each other? Yeah, it's a good. All right, I'll stick around. I'll have more.
There's a lot of after time and so on. I got a couple of things to say. We'll start passing this stuff out.
I need the. Oh, this is back.
Yeah, get him his stuff. Okay, I'll say this about that.
And the Congress letter?
Congress letter. Which reminds me, there's a couple things I want to bring up. One, Gary sends a constituent letter requesting a comment from Trent Franks on. And they're going to say exactly what I know they always say. Oh, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment. But when you were to speak at any safe event, you had to have that, black pistol grip detachable magazine firearm color picture, and then you got to talk. Okay? Trent Franks showed up in the 2002 election cycle, and he comes out and looked like a 20-gauge shotgun. Here, I know him from church. I've known Trent for a long time. When he first announced in '94 running for Congress, My wife and I sat at the head table, 800 people at the Camelback Inn, you know, friends there. He was the only politician I ever donated to, including libertarians, including Ron Paul. Let me tell you the story. From that experience of having put my name on a list and helping do it, then he did some of the stuff that he did, I'll never put my name on a list of helping somebody ever again. But that doesn't mean I don't help. Oh, a lot of you guys might not know. I'm the one that created the Ron Paul Lovolution logo. I voted every time I put up a sign. See my point?
Yes.
Trent Frank showed up with this 20-gauge shotgun looking thing. I'm like, hell no. You're not gonna, this is exactly why we do this. Look at the bullet it shoots. It was a big game rhino gun. Yeah, but it's got a big bullet. Oh, I'm feeling all kinds of comfortable about him defending my rights. So we get the letter. Gary sends it to me. I put it up on the site. Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, love Second Amendment, gotta have Second Amendment, Second Amendment, but, I mean, hell. We gotta check and make sure and preemptively and find out who all the crazy people are. Database. This is about a database. Now, from Alan's presentation, agree with me or him or not is not the point right now. The point that I'm making is now that you see why SAFE is resurrected, now you see why, to express myself and those that believe as I do, that, you know, a firearm is a freaking screwdriver. If we do not come out again and take this hardcore, no compromise position that there is a database, who will? So what do we hear? The solution, oh, we're just going to muck them up and we're going to have another database, a no-buy list. We've already, if we do that, you have already given up the principle. The rest is just a matter of degree, in my opinion. I come in, good friend, when I was a young activist in the 90s, you know, $50 here and there from Dick and Noreen Rank, you know, saved the day. I can't count how many times. They've been supporters of ours for a long time. These are people I've known for decades as a young man and grown to love them. First thing she says to me, she goes, Ernie, I just found, come up here. This is what she said. She goes, did you know that they did do door-to-door confiscation? Fine, okay. New Orleans. She goes, there was an elderly woman sitting there, you know, no claiming nothing, nobody bothering anybody to take. Give us your gun. Well, I got a gun. Yeah, boom on the ground. See, how many have not seen that? See, I mean, everybody knows it, Noreen. You're way behind, okay? So the thing is, yes, of course we know this. What did they do? They went and got the list. It's not like they might someday do it. The first time that people en masse needed to be able to defend themselves in the most perfect example of needing to, here comes the government to take them. And what they do with the pastors, they have, you know, these clergy coming around going, oh, no, Congress, you just turn, it's okay. It's okay. You get on, yeah, it's okay. We're here to help you, it's okay.
Get on the train. Get on the train. Cattle car.
Am I being paranoid?
No.
Right.
It's a matter of degree. Once you give up the principle, it's over. It's just a matter of degree. I understand, Alan and I have had this conversation for almost 20 years, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, but what you can get passed through, how you're looked in the media, what, you know, heck, what made Larry Pratt most supported in his ouch quit it, and even Alex Jones with Piers Morgan was there no compromise. You know, a lot of people, what did you think of Alex Jones? Man, it looked like he was getting a little radical up there. He's gotten, I'm going, you know what? 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be glad he did it. Especially to a Brit. Are you freaking kidding me? It's like they're making fun of us. You know, you got the redcoat sitting up there saying you should be you got disarmed. I can't believe you got armed. You got disarmed. Why do you need, you know, blah, blah. I'm going, wow. And when we start getting into all the little nuances of what kind of list and who has the list and what's on the list, it's the list. You know, I do a lot of radio, 3 hours every day, Monday through Friday. Boom, 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 and or you can fill it up, okay? And the one thing that I find of interest is it's always a matter of degree. It's always about, you know, how you're going to be governed and ruled. And I would say, Ernie, you're such an anarchist. I'm like, compared to what? Compared to now? I mean, is real seriously, that's my choice? None or what we got? I vote none. I'm a none guy, man. And who are the bad guys? My show is Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock. Why? Because the Declaration of Independence told you how to recognize when government was bad. It didn't say what kind we're going to have. It didn't say we're going to have a republic or a democracy or, you know, whatever ism. It just said when government is not defending the rights of the individual, they're bad, time to alter or abolish. It's that simple. That's how you know when they're bad. Are they going to create? Are they going to create new programs? Are they going to create anything that expands freedom? No, they just give lip service to it. I knew what was going to happen because I've been through this before. Of course they're going to say, we saved your NRA, absolutely. We saved your, see, you get to keep your guns for now. And all you have to do is get on this nice list. And I guarantee that bids, this you can buy it list, is going to be ever expanding. It's going to include all kinds of stuff and you don't even know how or why. So I'm anti-list guy. So at the very least, you can understand why I felt the need for us to even do what we're doing. What I want you to do, Frank is going to go ahead and announce winners for some of the goodies that we have and so on. But as my gift to you, because I love you so much, do not take any more than you are willing to distribute. These masters, when I started to announce this on the radio program that nationally broadcast out of New Hampshire, goes around the country, what I get from all over the state. States, and they said, Ernie, can I? As a matter of fact, we had the file in a Dropbox in a server online until Monday, and they just downloaded and started making masters. Some of them that's kind of past them, so we're sending them copies, and they're starting to reduplicate these around the country. It is a compilation of about 5 films. You get done with this, it may be an hour and a half, 2 hours, but you know, when you get done, oh, you got a bunch of education you didn't even know was there. So you go, all right, well, I have JTFO up on there, little Freedom's Phoenix, little whatever, I can show you the picture. All right, here's the picture of the menu that comes up. Thank you very much. I thought I had it in here. Now, we also have the PDF of the, that's on that one. We also have the PDF of the for making these. You change one line, it's editable. You change one line, make it your website, your organization. These QR codes go straight to Freedom's Phoenix, SafeGunOwners.org, and the Easy. You know, this little smartphone blip. These go on the trash cans. Take enough for your neighborhood or whatever you want to do. These are being distributed. We already got the core of what I want to do. Chris went down to the state legislature. He went to the city hall. He went to the mayor and council's office because I know a lot of these guys. I had a conversation with one of the chiefs of staff and their PR guy with Sal DeCiccio, his chief of staff, one of the city councilmen. He was editorial page editor of the Tribune. His name's Hal DeKaiser. He was one of the first, like in 91, 92, in the middle of the ass scam thing, someone gave my spiel. Since then, he's known me to be uncompromising, principled. But I made a lot of predictions in writing for the papers back in the day, of which he knows. And everything that I predicted was going to happen, the order it's happening, has happened. When they did Occupy Wall Street arrests and a lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes, the city council did not want that to happen. Don't do it. We don't want you to do it. We're council. Don't do it. Town managers, city police, the fusion centers, the FBI, blah, 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 whatever. We're going to wear our shields are black and hut, 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 and we're going to arrest people. And then they let them stay anyway. Why? Because it was directed from the Department of. This Jan Napolitano and those going down across the country and say, we're going to have a left jack boot or a right jack boot, a jack boot on your throat party, and here we come, and we're going to show them what for. And they did. Why? Because they paid their overtime. Because they were paying for this. Jack McLam, Aid and Abet newsletter, police and military against the New World Order, all that in the 90s. He was the original officer he was. And he was warning what? That the police and military are going to be the tip of the spear of this New World Order thing, and if you don't get them out from under the control of a federalized, militarized national government, you're going to have tyranny in the streets in your town, and that's exactly what's going on. and it's going to include the administration of a list.
What was that?
A list. Is there any, before we dismiss, is there any question about my mind of the role that SAFE is going to play in this? You guys need any clarification? You guys good? Get it? Are we clear on this? Okay? Now, whatever the politicians do, whatever the other gun rights organizations do, whatever they're advocating and everything, I don't care. Period. Because I understand it's all a matter of degree. It's too complicated. You get into all. Yep. Axe murdering individuals walking in the hardware store at 17 years old. Here's my 20 bucks. Give me my whatever. Done. It's a hammer. To look at it as anything other than that, you are granting permission to the king to decide whether you get to defend against their tyrannical rule or not. I will not take that position. Now, that does, over the years, has had the effect of making Allen seem like the moderate. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. This is not over. You will see us involved in a lot of that. I've been through this before. Alan and I have this discussion on a constant basis. You can say I'm uncompromising, unyielding, and crazy all you want, and as loud as you want to as many media outlets as you want. You guys want to see how I do this? Totally no compromise. Just Google Ernest Hancock CNN. Me and Rick Sanchez. Oh, you guys may remember. Black man with the AR-15 and all that. That's what that is all about. You go watch that, you'll see we were all behind that and making it. We just massage. We just hook on. Okay. Because they don't understand what's going on. We knew that they were coming because William Kostrick was a gentleman from Scottsdale. In New Hampshire, Obama came and he had a sidearm on. Chris Matthews, can't believe you bring a GED gun to a presidential, oh my God, freaking out from Arizona. Heidi Byrick, the Southern Poverty Law Center Executive Director, been here to Arizona 3-4 times. They were amping up to come and do a Viper militia sting again. I felt it. I call right after that, Al Ramirez is the Confrontation Prevention Squad, community service guys at the Phoenix Police Department. I go, look, here they come. He goes, yep, they're gearing up. We need to talk. He and the supervisor came by and we gave him a tour, and I said, look, man, you guys just do your job. 5 seconds of being stupid, I'll make you infamous. Okay? So they were cool. They were there. That was a Friday. Thursday, he's coming Monday. Obama was. That Saturday night, I get a call from Black Chris. Okay? Hey, Ernie, I'm going to bring my AR-15. What am I going to say? No. I'm like, all right, man, but don't count on me, standing in front of bullets for you, okay? Just, whatever, and we'll interview you. So we interviewed him and had that. What happened? What did MSNBC do? They were cutting off his head. They didn't want anybody to know he was black. Why?
I called and asked. They said we took off his head and took away that he was black because it ruined the storyline.
Of course! Because what was their storyline? Oh, skinhead militia types in Arizona, we're going to go get him. This wasn't planned by us. It was just Chris he's a young revolutionary. He wanted to be very clear that if you rape and pillage and plunder my generation, at some point there will be resistance.
But Ernie, they did show Chris's face. I was telling my friends all over the country, hey, Chris is a friend of mine, a guy you saw on TV. Yeah, they did show his face.
No, not on MSNBC.
Well,
MSNBC, man, you want me to show you the video, Pat? Tighten up. So they were making it very clear. And the reason is because it didn't fit their narrative. Then they would say, oh, not the black guy, the other white guy with the AR. There was no other guy. So all of a sudden, they want to do, and I wouldn't do the interviews. Only CNN would do it live. And I go, fine, you want fine, live, all right, man, bring your punk ass crap on, man. I get up, golly gee shucking gee willikers, Mr. Sanchez. Watch it, CNN Ernest Hancock. You want to see how I deal no compromise national television? That's it. Don't tell me you can't do it. I do it all the time. So this is, and I go, blah, tell me it can't be done. So this is where I believe this. It's not a black thing. So what did they do? They didn't go to Arizona. It was when they arrested the Huttery militia in Michigan, right at the same time. That's what it's like Arizona, Montana, Michigan, Georgia. It's like a round robin that they do. I've been dealing with ATF for a long time on this. And then, you know, one time I talked to a BATF guy, he goes, Ernie, yeah, these gun laws aren't made for people like you. I go, they're made for people exactly like me. So I don't trust these guys for anything. So it's a cultural war. I'm not going to beat it in the legislature. I'm not going to beat it with I don't trust them, one little word reinterpreting, changing, court says kind of crap. This battle is won here and in here. The reason I called Hal de Kaiser is I said, look, let me tell you, here we come. December 15th was the dedication to the first monument to the Bill of Rights, which means I guess it's dead now, here in Arizona. We were very much a part, Charles Goyette and I, in helping pass legislation to get that just free dirt for them to put a $400,000, $500,000 privately funded monument. What happened? Take big far left and far right. We had Kirsten Sinema and Karen Johnson. By the time the bill got up, it's going to pass. We're pushing it. Russell Pierce kills the bill because he doesn't want a Democrat on it. A lot of pressure. It comes back. They finally get it done. This is the kind of crap you're dealing with. Everybody's going on about how Russell Pierce, he's a strong influence in the party. I'm going, what gives you that impression? He lost the only recall a legislator ever had and ran for re-election and lost the Republican primary in Mesa. His power's what?
Didn't he sponsor 1070?
Database. 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 This is, it's a cultural thing with me. I can see where this is going. We can't give up the fight before we even got started because all the details don't matter. Once you give the government the permission or your sanction for them to even have a list that says you can or can't do anything, you've already lost it because they'll say you can't when it's most advantageous to them. I guarantee it. And there is no example throughout history where that hasn't been so. Now, where did all our authors, the big guys, they're all like, yeah, you might not want to be at the epicenter, but we're not for, no compromise. We already know where this goes. But they're digging in. We're going to fight. And where's the battle? It's up here. I'm not starting this battle already lost. Now you know my mind. And when you see this stuff coming, this is going to be the battle. It's not going to be me trying to convince, it's going to be me trying to convince everybody in this state, certainly, don't surrender. The mindset that you allowing someone else to determine what you can or can't do in the defense of yourself or of a free state. Because if you do that, you already lost before you started.
One quick observation. So you're basically endorsing Oswald carrying Manlocker Tucano into the 6th floor?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was I not clear? It's like he's saying, assault is a behavior. Killing is a behavior. Doing something is a behavior. Get the behavior. Hell, they don't even care about the behavior. You just can't. Oh my God, he smoked marijuana and watched cartoons. We got to continue. Well, cuz, it's not what we like. Is it bothering you?
No.
I walk around with a gun. You had the guy, AR-15, young black man, at a rally, walk around with the AR. Oh my God, he had a gun where the president was.
Good.
Lots of guns with it.
At first, people thought that was crazy. I got Alan and everybody else. KFYI, broomheads had me on. They went on my case all day. Ernie, I go on there. This was a rally about, Obamacare. What? Yeah. Did you see all Obama? I saw a bunch of, pro-gun stuff too, but I'm going, Obama, what? I didn't get the memo. Was there some memo somewhere that goes out? Is it like we're going to be protesting? I go, well, libertarians don't care what your memo says anyway. You have to understand, it's all of this game that's being played. And we've already capitulated, and I knew it would come, and we get it from the Republican people. Ask your legislators, ask your candidates, ask them. Oh yeah, you got this. We'll use it this way and for good, and pinky swear they won't keep, and do blah, 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 blah. But there's going to be a government permission slip, get over it. What happened when they did concealed carry law. We had sat down in our offices, we had Frances Barwood, which was a city councilwoman, she was our safe city councilwoman. Jeff Grosskopf, that later became Speaker of the House, he was our safe legislator. He got unrestricted concealed carry, voted on the floor, blah, 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 blah. During those days, they came and Trent Franks and Frances Barwood and a bunch of other guys came into our office and said, ooh, this safe thing is going, man. We're doing this CCW legislation. You know, Simonton's going to sign it in when he was still governor. Then we're going to, he gets #1 CCW. We want you to get 1. You can get 2, 3. We're doing, woo! Mike Duggar and I looked at each other, Libertarian Second Amendment Caucus, another activist, later would be state chair of the Libertarian Party. We had a little gavel there we'd play with, and I go, bang, safe is dead. Long live safe. We killed the political PAC. They wanted to do board of directors. They saw where this was going. We were going to end the name up. And we immediately filed a referendum against the law that allowed for the CCW. And what did all these groups want from me? I was offered consulting fees out the butt to get the list of 36,000 people that just flooded our table wanting the concealed carry initiative. And then I burned it. Because I knew they wanted why? The Shooters World had all kinds of classrooms set up. They were ready to go. Yeah, we got, woo, come on in, get your mandatory training. There was money to be made in this. So I was really glad to see Alan come up with the Train Me campaign, because now it's open, anybody can have it. I think there's a big market if there's no list for people to go get training. They won't get training before because you're on a list. The best argument I heard for getting a CCW, which I never got, by the way, was from Michael Kielski here. Yeah, you get this card, you know, they don't have to do background checks, and you can get as many guns as you want, they don't know. I go, you know, that's a good thing. But damn it, if you ain't on a list. They don't care how many you get, you're on the list. So I want you to understand why we're doing what we're doing. It is going to be, and you'll say, that crazy safe guy, crazy. I mean, you think I haven't heard this before? You know, of course we got politicians. Now, after a couple of years, man, you can't have a webpage for a Republican that doesn't have them holding an assault weapon. Them out, you know, shooting on the range. Look at me. Where's the selector switch? I mean, you know, they just play it. You know, one of our competitions that we had, a safe shoot for an election, it was run by Randy Graff. He became president of the Senate. You know? But instead of going out handgun, boom, he wins, hey, cool. Oh, yeah, I haven't shot since the Air Force. And everybody knew he was out there an hour before practicing on another range. I'm like, why would you lie about something? These guys are messed up in the head. Going, all right. We are going to be coming back, and it is going to be no compromise. But who do I focus on? Do I go after state legislators and congressmen and all this kind of stuff, the stupid stuff they say or do? Or do I go after people in the gun community that is given sanction for me to be on a list? I'm going to be a butthead. But what happens? Crazy guy. Frank? Where's Frank?
I'm hiding down here.
Oh, there you go. Thanks for coming. Make sure you come and get what you're going to distribute. We got plenty of people to distribute these. So you guys only take what you're going to distribute and be my guest.
Okay, we got 3 books to draw to and a couple donations here you might be interested in. One is the parking permit for Area 51. And as I see this is a bag to put your cell phone in that is anti-radiation, anti-degaussing, no signal, something or other. And it's a little package to put your cell phone in.
Oh, somebody ripped off my idea.
Well, let's start here.
Wallet to stop those little $100 bills from running.
This young lady would draw 2 of those.
Put them in a microwave and seal it.
Yeah, then the money's no good.
And why would it be
Money's no good. It'll burn a little piece of aluminum in there.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, first chance at the books. If I can read it. 333 3335. Back in the corner is a bunch of books. If you get back there first, you get first choice. Oh, 3336. Must be right here.
Shuffle those.
Yeah, back in the book.
Right back there, that's it. Right back there.
This looks like an honest lady right here. Two more. There you go. Okay, one more book. 3298. 298. Okay. Area 51 parking permit.
I need it.
3352. 3352.
I already have mine.
Use it wisely. Very good. Okay, for the cell phone bag or
Does that guy look familiar? That's Sheriff Richard Mack.
handset function bag. 3327. 3327. Thank you. Thank all of you for coming. It's been a pleasure having you here. I hope you enjoyed the day, and we'll see you the first Saturday of next month.